Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Oh, I guess I could change the screen. Okay. I'm trying to find the link so I can properly link on Twitter. Let's see. Will this work? Yes, there we go. There we go. Link has been found. Where'd the music go? Hello. Hello. Merry Christmas. Yay. Merry Christmas. Close that off. Make sure so I don't lose more frame rates. Let me post on Twitter. Okay. Put tags like a good person. Most likely, a lot of things make me lag. I work everything off of a laptop. Let's delete some of those. Everything I do is off of just a laptop. Maybe if I get rid of that. Let's see. That scared me. Okay. You would think I would learn already, just start doing a lot of this stuff beforehand. But I don't. Yeah, let's just go without the background. I think it's very fitting. No background's very fitting for me. Okay. I actually don't know how to start this off. Because I've never done a stream before where like I read a story. Let me check this real quick. Oh, very, very laggy tonight. Very, very laggy tonight. Very laggy. I'll just keep my head very still. Like this. I always just put the image up. Just for tonight. Let's use this. Let's just do this. Very good. Yes, let's close that for now. As we regain some... I don't mind Christmas. I like lights. I like Christmas nights a lot. Christmas is always interesting to me. Because there could be so many different things happening. And like, it's just that you have like a month to prepare and then it's all gone. I never grew up though. Our family never had a lot of money. And I remember, you know, because as a kid you don't really think about that kind of stuff. So growing up, I remember kids like in 2nd grade, they would come in and be like, yeah, bring your favorite toy or gift that you got. And then like I would come in with like a stuffed animal, like, look at this is so cool. And then you would have kids like, this is my new Game Boy Advance. And I'm like, hey, I was a good kid. Like, there's the very material part of it that's always been weird to me. But I was also very lucky that even though we didn't have a lot of money, my mom especially used to make sure that everything was all good for us. Like, I remember there was one year, the game that I've been meaning to play, that Magical Star Sign, that game in particular, my mom went out of her way to like save just some extra money just to make sure, just because she wanted me to actually have something like really cool. So even though people are like, oh, it isn't like a popular game, but to me it's like enough that I'm like, that it means a lot to me just because of that. Words are hard to form, especially at 11 p.m. It's still Christmas Eve over here, but I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper so that way I don't fall asleep again. I made it farther in the stream than last night. Let me try and open this again. I don't think, because really the whole point of tonight was just... Oh, that can explain why it was lagging so bad. That could be the reason. Let's try again. Oh, my head is gone. I had the frame rate very, 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 very high on my model. It's 2 a.m.? Where do you live at that it's 2 a.m.? So it's official Christmas time for you. Congratulations! Where'd my music go? I don't hear it. Oh. so cool. I always remember when I was younger, there is a point, where... Oh, okay, I thought I was playing the music out loud. There is a point where everybody had, like, cool instruments and stuff, and the music director was like, hey, bring your instrument, and we ended up making, like, a fake guitar. 9 p.m. Oh, you're in the past. We are time travelers over here. Feliz Navidad. When I think of Feliz Navidad, there was a point when I was really, really little where I really liked that song. So my mom one day waited with, like, the radio. I feel like I'm gonna show my age here. But, like, when you would want to hear a song and you wanted to record it, you would take a cassette and then you would press record a certain way and then you could record songs from the radio. My mom one time did that for me for Feliz Navidad. Like, she waited and then, like, stayed super quiet just so I could have a recording of it. And I don't know why it was specifically that song when I was little, but it was. Like, for some reason, very specifically, it was always Feliz Navidad. Let me get something pulled up. We don't really do much. We don't do much for Christmas in my house. This is honestly, like, the most hype thing I've done for Christmas, so it's kind of weird. It's kind of like, never really, like, an alone moment, but it's like, I'm not actually alone for Christmas. This specific model, because it's going by the calibration on the new one. Yeah, if we do that, it'll be better. Let's see, does that make it better? Probably not. There we go. That's as good as we'll get. Yeah, everything is calibrated now. Cassettes, I still have somewhere in here an Elvis Presley cassette. I'm glad. I want to try and stay up until midnight when it officially hits Christmas here. So hopefully we will get that, unless I fall asleep. But I don't know, I made sure I had a lot of caffeine so we could all spend the holiday season, like the very last day of it, together. I'm trying to think how to go about a New Year's Eve stream. Yeah, my headphones are, like, really big and then it messes up my calibration. I'll just stay like this the entire time. One of the big things. Now that's a name. That is a name. Super sexy boing boing big opay neko mimi one-chan. That is a name. That's a... LAPIN's not a neko mimi though. Von Burger, I'm glad you actually, at least for once, got to be here for a stream. Cause I feel like either I would accidentally fall asleep during my streams, or I would do them really early. Calibration right now on me, I just... Should I... That might be better. Truly, this is a culture chat now. One of the things I wanted to do tonight is I wanted to read A Velveteen Rabbit, just because not only is it a Christmas story, but it's also a very fitting one. Plus, it was my favorite book growing up. I actually have it somewhere, but I didn't want to go looking for it, so I just downloaded a copy on my phone. So you won't hear the cool pages unless you want me to grab a book and pretend I'm reading through it. I was looking through the chat of last night's stream, and I don't understand why so many of you guys just stayed there. Like, so many of you guys just stayed. And at some part, I'm very honored. But at another part, I don't know why. Yes. That was truly... I think the reason my calibration's getting messed up is I keep putting my phone in my face. But truly the most... an epic gamer moment. It's a pretty sad story. But it's also a Christmas story. The same song. See, what I was trying to do was I was gonna attempt to do like a different way of setting up before I streamed. But then I just fell asleep. So I fell asleep with my laptop open. But I was also listening to the music while I was sleeping. So I... It's very good. It's good. No, but I fell asleep, and then I was hearing the music the entire time when I was sleeping as well. So we were all just listening to clown music together. On my Twitch, when I used to stream there, I used to use like the actual version, but I thought that one was more suitable. I also haven't read out loud like an actual story since... I'm not gonna say how long, but since I was in high school. It pretty much at that point was a sleeping stream. You just didn't hear any of the sleeping, you just heard the clown music. Oh god. What song is it in this? I don't know, I just looked up Christmas music without copyright. Okay, let's read. Let's read a story together. Did anybody else have an elementary school when, like, you would read a story and then the teacher each chapter would go, any questions and anybody can ask? Because for some reason I remember that in elementary school. Hang on, I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. had to sneeze. But I didn't want to sneeze on camera. Okay. I keep saying let's start the story, but then I get distracted. I do not mean to do that. Okay. So the Velveteen Rabbit, aka sometimes called How Toys Become Real, by Marjorie Williams. Here was once a Velveteen Rabbit, and in the beginning he was really splendid. He was as fat and bunchy as a rabbit should be. His coat was spotted brown and white. He had 3 real thread whiskers, and his ears were lined with pink satin. On Christmas morning, when he sat wedged on the top of the boy's stocking with a sprig of holly between his paws, the effect was charming. There were other things in the stocking, nuts and oranges and a toy engine and chocolate almonds and an old clockwork mouse, but the rabbit was quite the best of all. For at least 2 hours the boy loved him, and then aunts and uncles came to dinner, and there was a great rustling of tissue paper and unwrapping of parcels, and in the excitement of looking at all the new presents the Velveteen Rabbit was forgotten. For a long time he lived in the toy cupboard or on the nursery floor, and no one thought very much about him. He was naturally shy, and being only made of velveteen, some of the more expensive toys quite snubbed him. The mechanical toys were very superior and looked down upon everyone else. They were also full of modern ideas and pretended they were real. The model boat, who had lived through 2 seasons and lost most of his paint, caught the tone from them and never missed an opportunity of referring to his riggings in technical terms. The rabbit could not claim to be a model of anything, for he didn't know that real rabbits existed. He thought they were all stuffed with sawdust like himself, and he understood that sawdust was quite out of date, and that it should never be mentioned in modern circles. Even Timothy, the jointed wooden lion, who was made by the disabled soldiers, and should have had broader views, put on airs, and pretended he was connected with government. Between them all, the poor little rabbit was made to feel himself very insignificant and commonplace, and the only person who was kind to him at all was the Skin Horse. The Skin Horse had lived longer in the nursery than any of the others. He was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and showed the seams underneath. And most of the hairs in his tail had been pulled out to string bead necklaces. He was wise, for he had seen a long succession of mechanical toys arrive to boast and swagger, and by break their mainsprings and pass away. And he knew they were only toys and would never turn into anything else. For nursery magic is very strange and wonderful, and only those playthings that are old and wise and experienced like the Skin Horse understand all about it. "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day, when they were lying side by side near the nursery fender, before Nana came to tidy the room. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and stick out handle?" "Real isn't how you are made," said the Skin Horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not only just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the Skin Horse, for he was always truthful. "When you are real, you don't mind being hurt." "Does it happen all at once, like being wound up?" he asked, "or bit by bit?" "It doesn't happen all at once," said the Skin Horse. "You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been lopped off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand." "I suppose you are real?" said the rabbit, and then he wished he had not said it. for he thought the Skin Horse might be sensitive, but the Skin Horse only smiled. "The boy's uncle may be real," he said. "That was a great many years ago. But once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always." The rabbit sighed. He thought it would be a long time before this magic called real happened to him. He longed to become real, to know what it felt like, and yet the idea of growing shabby and losing his eyes and whiskers was rather sad. He wished he could become it without these uncomfortable things happening to him. There was a person called Nana who ruled the nursery. Sometimes she took no notice of the playthings lying about, and sometimes, for no reason whatever, she went swooping about like a great wind and hustled them away in cupboards. She called this tidying up, and the playthings all hated it, especially the tin ones. The rabbit didn't mind it so much, for wherever he was thrown, he came down softly. One evening, when the boy was going to bed, he couldn't find the china dog that always slept with him. Nana was in a hurry, and it was too much trouble to hunt for china dogs at bedtime. So she simply looked about, and seeing that the toy cupboard door stood open, she made a swoop. "Here," she said, "take your old bunny. He'll do to sleep with you." And she dragged the rabbit out by one ear and put him into the boy's arms. That night, and for many nights after, the Velveteen Rabbit slept in the boy's bed. At first he found it rather uncomfortable, for the boy hugged him very tight, and sometimes he rolled over on him, and sometimes he pushed him so far under the pillow that the rabbit could scarcely breathe. And he missed, too, those long moonlight hours in the nursery, when all the house was silent, and his talks with the Skin Horse. But very soon he grew to like it, for the boy used to talk to him, and made nice tunnels for him under the bedclothes that he said were like the burrows for real rabbits. And they had splendid games together, and whispers when Nana had gone away to her supper and left the nightlight burning on the mantelpiece. And when the boy dropped off to sleep, the rabbit would snuggle down close under his little warm chin and dream, with the boy's hands clasped around him. And so time went on, and the little rabbit was very happy, so happy that he never noticed how his beautiful velveteen fur was getting shabbier and shabbier, and his tail becoming unsewn, and all the pink rubbed off of his nose where the boy had kissed him. Spring came, and they had long days in the garden, for wherever the boy went, the rabbit went too. He had rides in the wheelbarrow and picnics in the grass, the lovely fairy huts built for him under the raspberry canes behind a flower border. And once, when the boy was called away, suddenly to go out to tea, the rabbit was left out on the lawn, long after dusk, and Nana had come to look for him with the candle because the boy couldn't go to sleep unless he was there. He was wet through with the dew, and quite earthy from diving into the burrows the boy had made, and Nana grumbled as she rubbed him off with the corner of her apron. "You must have your old bunny," she said. "Fancy all that fuss for a toy." The boy sat up in bed and stretched out his hands. "Give me my bunny," he said. "You mustn't say that. He isn't a toy. He's real." When the little rabbit heard that, he was happy, for he knew that what the Skin Horse had said was very true at last. The nursery magic had happened to him, and he was a toy no longer. He was real. The boy himself had said it. That night he was almost too happy to sleep, and so much love stirred in his little sawdust heart that it almost burst, and into his boot-button eyes that had long ago lost their polish there came a look of wisdom and beauty, so that even Nana noticed it next morning when she picked him up and said, "I declare if the old bunny hasn't got quite a knowing expression." That was a wonderful summer. Near the house where they lived there was a wood, and in the long June evenings the boy liked to go there after tea to play. He took the Velveteen Rabbit with him, and before he wandered off to pick flowers or play at games among the trees, he always made the rabbit a little nest somewhere. where he could be quite cozy, for he was a kind-hearted little boy, and he liked the bunny to be comfortable. One evening, while the rabbit was lying there alone, watching the ants that ran to and fro between his velvet paws in the grass, he saw two strange beings creep out of the tall bracken near him. They were rabbits like himself, but quite furry and brand new. They must have been very well made, for their seams didn't show at all, and they changed shape in a queer way when they moved. One minute they were long and thin, and the next minute fat and bunchy, instead of always staying the same like he did. Their feet patted softly on the ground, and they crept quite close to him, twitching their noses while the rabbit stared hard just to see which clockwork stuck out. For he knew that people would generally have something to wind them up, but he couldn't see it. They were evidently a new kind of rabbit altogether. They stared at him, and the little rabbit stared back, and all the time their noses twitched. "Why don't you get up and play with us?" one of them asked. "I don't feel like it," said the rabbit, for he didn't want to explain that he had no clockwork. "Oh," said the furry rabbit, "it's as easy as anything." And he gave a big hop sideways and stood on his hind legs. "I don't believe you can," he said. "I can," said the little rabbit. "I could jump higher than anything." He meant when the boy threw him, but of course he didn't want to say so. "Can you hop on your hind legs?" asked the furry rabbit. That was a dreadful question, for the Velveteen Rabbit had no hind legs at all. The back of him was made all in one piece, like a pincushion. He sat still in the bracken and hoped the other rabbits wouldn't notice. "I don't want to," he said again. But the wild rabbits had very sharp eyes, and this one stretched out his neck to look. "He hasn't got any hind legs," he called out. "Fancy a rabbit without any hind legs," and he began to laugh. "I have," cried the little rabbit. "I have got hind legs. I'm sitting on them." "Then stretch them out and show me, like this," said the wild rabbit, and began to whirl and dance till the little rabbit got quite dizzy. "I don't like dancing," he said. "I'd rather sit still." But all the while he was longing to dance, for a funny new tickly feeling ran through him, and he felt he would give anything in the world to be able to jump about like these rabbits did. The strange rabbit stopped dancing and came quite close. He came so close this time that his long whiskers brushed the Velveteen Rabbit's ears, and then he wrinkled his nose suddenly and flattened his ears and jumped backward. "He doesn't smell right," he exclaimed. "He isn't a rabbit at all. He isn't real." "I am real," said the little rabbit. "I am real. The boy said so," and he nearly began to cry. Just then there was a sound of footsteps, and the boy ran past near them, and with a stamp of feet and a flash of white tails, the two rabbits' feet disappeared. "Come back and play with me," called the little rabbit. "Oh, do come back. I know I am real." But there was no answer. Only the little ants ran to and fro, and the bracken swayed gently where the two strangers had passed. The Velveteen Rabbit was all alone. "Oh dear," he thought. "Why did they run away like that? Why couldn't they stop and talk to me?" For a long time he lay very still, watching the bracken and hoping they would come back. But they never returned, and presently the sun sank lower and little white moths fluttered out, and the boy came and carried him home. Weeks passed, and the little rabbit grew very old and shabby, but the boy loved him just as much. He loved him so hard that he loved all of his whiskers off, and the pink lining in his ears turned gray, and his brown spots faded. He even began to lose his shape, and he scarcely looked like a rabbit any more except to the boy. To him, he was always beautiful, and that was all that the little rabbit cared about. He didn't mind how he looked to other people because the nursery magic had made him real, and when you are real, shabbiness doesn't matter. And then one day, the boy was ill. His face grew very flushed, and he talked in his sleep, and his little body was so hot that it burned the rabbit when he held him close. Strange people came and went in the nursery, and a light burned all night. Through it all, the little Velveteen Rabbit lay there, hidden from sight under the bedclothes, and he never stirred, for he was afraid that if they found him, someone might take him away, and he knew that the boy needed him. It was a long, weary time, for the boy was too ill to play, and the little rabbit found it rather dull, with nothing to do all day long. But he snuggled down patiently and looked forward to the time when the boy should be well again, and they would go out in the garden amongst the flowers and the butterflies, and play splendid games in the raspberry thicket like they used to. All sorts of delightful things he planned, and while the boy lay half asleep, he crept up close to the pillow and whispered them in his ear, and presently the fever turned, and the boy got better, and he was able to sit up in the bed and look at picture books, while the little rabbit cuddled close to his side, and one day they let him get up and dress. The boy was going to the seaside tomorrow. Everything was arranged, and now it only remained to carry out the doctor's orders. They talked about it all, while the little rabbit lay under the bedclothes, with just his head peeping out, and listened. The boy was to be disinfected, and all the books and toys that the boys had played with in the bed must be burnt. Hurrah, thought the little rabbit. Tomorrow we shall go to the seaside, for the boy had talked of the seaside, and he wanted very much to see the big waves coming in. Just then, Nana caught sight of him. How about this old bunny here? She asked. That, said the doctor. Why, it's a mass of scarlet fever germs. Burn it at once. What? Nonsense. Get him a new one. He must have had that. He mustn't have that anymore. And so the little rabbit was put into a sack with the old picture books and a lot of rubbish, and carried out to the end of the garden behind the fowl house. That was a fine place to make a bonfire. Only the gardener was too busy just then to attend to it. He had the potatoes to dig and the green peas to gather, but next morning he promised to come quite early and burn the whole lot. That night the boy slept in a different bedroom, and he had a new bunny to sleep with him. It was a splendid bunny, all white plush, with real glass eyes, but the boy was too excited to care very much about it, for tomorrow he was going to the seaside, and that it in itself was such a wonderful thing, and he could think of nothing else. And while the boy was asleep, dreaming of the seaside, the little rabbit lay among the old picture books in the corner behind the fowl house, and he felt very lonely. The sack had been left untied, and so by wriggling a bit, he was able to get his head through the opening and look out. He was shivering a lot, for he had always been used to sleeping in a proper bed, and by this time his coat had worn so thin nearby he could see the thickest of raspberry canes, growing tall and close like a tropical jungle, in whose shadow he had played with the boy on bygone mornings. He thought of those long sunlit hours in the garden, how happy they were, and a great sadness came over him. He seemed to see them all pass before him, each more beautiful than the other. The fairy huts in the flower bed, the quiet evenings in the woods, when he lay in the bracken and the little ants ran over his paws, the wonderful day when he first knew he was real. He thought of the skin horse, so wise and gentle, and all that he had told him. Of what use was it to be loved and lose one's beauty and become real if it all ended like this? And a tear, a real tear, trickled down his shabby velvet nose and fell to the ground. And then a strange thing happened, for where the tear had fallen and the flower grew out of the ground, a mysterious flower, not at all like any that had grew in the garden. It had slender green leaves, the color of emeralds, and in the center of the leaves a blossom like a golden cup. It was so beautiful that the little rabbit forgot to cry and just lay there watching it. And presently the blossom opened, and out of it there stepped a fairy. She was quite the loveliest fairy in the whole world. Her dress was of pearls and dewdrops, and there were flowers around her neck and in her hair, and her face was like the most perfect flower of all. She came close to the little rabbit and gathered him up in her arms and kissed him on his velveteen nose that was all damp from crying. "Little rabbit," she said, "don't you know who I am?" The rabbit looked up at her, and it seemed to him that he had never seen her face before, but he couldn't think where. "I am the nursery magic fairy," she said. "I take care of all the playthings that children have loved. And when they are old and worn out, the children don't need them any more. Then I come and take them away with me and turn them into real." "Wasn't I real before?" asked the little rabbit. "You were real to the boy," the fairy said, "because he loved you. Now you shall be real to everyone." And she held the little rabbit close in her arms and flew with him into the woods. It was light now, for the moon had risen. All the forest was beautiful, and the fronds of the bracken shone like frosted silver. In the open glade between the tree trunks, the wild rabbits danced with their shadows on the velvet grass. But when they saw the fairy, they all stopped dancing and stood around in a ring to stare at her. "I brought you a new playfellow," the fairy said. "You must be very kind to him and teach him all he needs to know in Rabbitland, for he is going to live with you forever and ever." She kissed the rabbit again and put him down on the grass. "Run and play, little rabbit," she said. But the little rabbit sat quiet still for a moment and never moved. But when he saw all the wild rabbits dancing around him, he suddenly remembered about his hind legs, and he didn't want them to see that he was made in all one piece. He didn't know that when the fairy kissed him that last time, she had changed him. And he might have sat there a long time, too shy to move, if just then something hadn't tickled his nose, and before he thought what he was doing, he lifted his hind leg to scratch it, and he found that he actually had hind legs. Instead of velveteen, he had brown fur, soft and shiny. His ears twitched by themselves, and his whiskers were so long that they brushed the grass. He gave one leap, and the joy of using those hind legs was so great that he went springing about the turf on them, jumping sideways and whirling round as the others did. And he grew so excited that when at last he did stop to look for the fairy, she had gone. He was a real rabbit at last, at home with the other rabbits. Autumn passed, and winter, and in spring, and when the days grew warm and sunny, the boy went out to play in the wood behind the house. And while he was playing, 2 rabbits crept out from the bracken and peeped at him. One of them all brown all over, but the other had strange markings under his fur, as though long ago he had been spotted, and the spots still shone through. And about his little soft nose and his round black eyes there was something familiar, so the boy thought to himself, "Why, he looks just like my little bunny that was lost when I had scarlet fever." But he never knew that it really was his own bunny, come back to look at the child who had first helped him to be real. I haven't spoken that long without any breaks since high school. I've always liked that story though, because to me it always seems like even if you accomplished one thing, sometimes in order to accomplish it, you gotta give up on a lot of other things, you know? I have to stretch my back. I didn't want to sit down too weird so that way since my phone was in front of my face. Sorry, my stomach started growling very, very loud, so I had to mute my mic. I know reading's probably completely different. It's not normally something that I do, just because I'm not a very good reader, but I'm glad. I'm glad you guys listen to it. My reading's really, really bad. Just because I have a speech issue. But I'm very, very happy you guys listen to me read it for like 30 minutes. Reading for the sign of someone who doesn't talk well for 30 minutes is very hard to do. You all deserve a medal for that. We still have 15 minutes before it's midnight. I'm trying to think of more stories to tell from when I was younger. I have one. I remember, because when I was younger, I used to like to collect a bunch of different things. Like some years it was rabbits, some years it was bears, some years it was horses. But the year it was horses, I remember my mom had got me this one horse, and then my grandma got me the exact same one. And I remember them being like, "Oh no, I didn't know you got that." But in like 4-year-old me's mind, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I remember thinking, whoa, I have 2 of the same toy. Like, that's something fancy people do. And so 4-year-old me and did play with both of them at the exact same time. And 4-year-old me did think that I was super fancy just for that. Why did I feel like I had a picture I wanted to show you guys, but I don't remember what it was. Let me look through my phone. The first time I seen the Velveteen Rabbit, I remember it was a stage play. And now that I think about it, the guy in the stage play had to be, maybe like 30 years old. And now that I think about it, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic. That was very talented for a 30-year-old guy to trick a bunch of kids into thinking that he indeed was a child. I think this is the most Christmassy it has felt this entire month, weirdly enough. Maybe it's because of everything that's been going on this year. But it really feels at least a little Christmassy now. I know I haven't been streaming for very long, but I'm very, 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 very glad that even somebody like me who just rambles off into nothingness, at least a few people would like don't mind listening to me. It feels very nice, and I'm very, 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 very grateful. Cause like, in the end, as much as I try and not talk about human life and stuff, in the end, I'm just some random human who just surviving. And even though sometimes you just have to really think back and think, like, oh, am I surviving? It's like sometimes that's the best you can do. It's just surviving. Where's my drink? Here's my drink. Do I have anything cool to post? Do I have any cool pictures that I saved? What pictures can I post? I do know for a fact tomorrow I won't be able to stream, but I think maybe, no, definitely Saturday I'll be able to stream. Also, I don't know if I've said this out loud, but obviously I keep saying this is my old model. But eventually, I think it's been planned when it's 100 subscribers. I think that's the thing we've all planned. I have, yes, that's posted. Let's get it. I have, oh god, where to go? Right now, this is, because I don't know if you guys know this. Wait, I'm gonna show it. I have no legs. In fact, I'll show you. Oh god, I just dropped something. I'll show you where my model stops. This is where I have no legs. But it's been decided. That when I hit, I think it's 100. Wait, is it Christmas? Is it midnight? No, we still have 7 minutes. Merry Christmas, not loudly. I'm glad to know you are not a lolly. But it's been decided that then I will get a full model. And this is so far. It's actually last stream. Not stream that I did where I fell asleep. But last stream, I showed off some of it. So it's actually legitimately almost done, just needing a few touch-ups. But I've been told not to use it until 100 subscribers. At least I think that's the number. I walk by just doing my best. If I just do my best, then I'm able to walk perfectly. And then, as long as you do your best, you can accomplish anything. I'm probably heavily gonna regret drinking a Dr. Pepper this late. Where did chat go? Chat, come back. I'm gonna lay down for the last 5 minutes, is it? I've been making preparations for the new year and everything like that. Which I'll probably, my New Year's Eve stream, I'll probably talk more about it. But as of now, I have been informed not to talk about it. It's like how my management told me not to sing. My management doesn't let me sing because they said if I sing, then I won't have anybody watching me anymore. Yes, YouTube, I know there's an issue there. Where did the chat go? I just accidentally destroyed chat, and it just is not showing up anymore. My management is my group of friends who I tell an idea to, and then they go, hey, that's a bad idea, or they'll go, hey, that's a good idea. And it's been a heavy conclusion that if I sing, it's a bad idea. I have embraced, though, being bad at everything. It is now my... You know how some people just like take some things and you're like, this entire thing is my persona? I have taken my bad at everything. Is that a monkey emote? Is that a monkey emote? Wait, there's monkey emote. Wait. Perfect. I'm using my cell phone to look at chat. We have 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. My singing is bad. I will fully admit that my singing's bad. I know how some people will say that and everyone will be like, oh no, it's probably not actually bad. It actually is very bad. As an idol enthusiast, you would think I would not taint the word idol by calling myself one. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. I guess I could sit up. I started laying down. I don't scream. This is about as loud as my voice will get. I don't usually get angry very easily or anything. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. I'm moving too fast for my bottle. many times can I blink in a minute? Merry Christmas! Christmas time. Christmas time. It's time. It's time for Christmas. And now all my gacha games are messaging me, telling me it's Christmas. How much is left on this song thing? I wish I knew where chat went on my laptop. Let's see. What do my gacha games get to give me today? What am I gonna get? I got nothing. They lied to me. Okay. Let me sit up. Now that it is Christmas, I actually had no idea what I was gonna say after that. All I know is Christmas is officially real. Giallo, you've never told me how to pronounce your name. So I'm just gonna start calling you Jelly. At Christmas time. I keep hitting my microphone and I promise I don't mean to. And with this, I must now get ready to go to sleep. I promise I will not play gacha games all night. So with that, I hope you all have a good Christmas. Like I said, I should be back unless I fall asleep. Before I stream again I should be back on the 26th at night. So I will see you all then. Make sure you eat a lot because these next 2 weeks don't matter. It's gonna be a new year anyway, so you can you're allowed to eat whatever you want. But time doesn't exist in these years, in this point. Especially after this year. So, good night everyone. Like I said, make sure you eat a lot. Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Good night, good night.